I'm just delighted to be here and do some interactive, do some chants, do some greetings, and see if we can't be here together as one people committed to a path of spirituality that then enhances and leads to wellness. I want to start with a small piece of music.
Ayo pe jana putin kuru soha om tare ture mama ayo pe jana putin kuru soha om tare ture mama ayo pe jana putin.
I was going to ask Dechen to say a little words about that particular chant. One of the reasons that I played it was that when I started to look at the places where all the great faiths that we are going to sit amongst today, one of the things, a common theme that comes up, I just wanted you to just say a couple of words. Can you speak into the mic? Okay. Is that better, folks?
Yes.
Okay. I thought I had a loud voice, but I'll work on it some more. When I started to look at what are some of the common practices that weave through the great texts of our religions and faiths, very quickly it becomes obvious that whether we're reading the Quran or reading the Guru Granth Sahib of the Sikhs, or the Vedas of the Hindus, or the Sutras of the Buddhists, that each one of those canons of beautiful writing also shows us and teaches us how to live a way of life that is embedded in having a clear mind, a strong body, an open heart, and a spirit that is deep in us, that we can spread from the feeling of the soul and the spirit our joy to the rest of the world. Many other things also cross-sect. One of my earliest experiences was being 5 years old in New Delhi and waking up to the call of the mullah from the masjid, to the kirtan from the Sikh Gurdwara, to the hymns from the Hindu temple. And then on my way to school, our school bus used to pick us up at 5 o'clock in the morning to get us to school at the other end of town. And our school was next to the Jama Masjid, which is one of the largest masjids in India. I had to look a little bit for where the Buddhist influences were in at least in the parts of northern India that I grew up in. But it wasn't until a little later in my life that I actually came to be blessed by His Holiness the Dalai Lama at age 16 and became really interested in the study of Buddhism. During my life, I've had a journey that has not been without trauma, without, at least a sentence and a half long DSM diagnosis, evidence proof that we're resilient and in recovery. That it became very important to me that this principle of wellness develop at a very, very deep space in me, and that it also be informed by the great teachings that are already available, and then finding a way all through my life to integrate those things as new things emerge. For example, the world of Native Americans, and the knowledge, the great knowledge that comes from their practices, and the world that is New Age. And I'm wearing my little New Age kunzite rock, compassion, produces compassion, and started to find that I was picking up that which was best for me to learn and practice and deepen and grow in, not judge that which I found difficult to understand or difficult to practice, and just honor it and put it aside. in the course of this journey, a couple of things that I absolutely love are the call to prayer that happens in the morning, and also the way that we greet each other. So I thought we could do a few of those today, and do a few greetings, and really embrace everyone in the circle. So I thought we could start with the chant Om, which is a very vibrational chant. And if we can really participate in it from right here, this chakra, solar plexus, I bet you we can vibrate this room right out of this facility. So are there any Om chanters in this room? Please come up and join me. Please. Come on. Come on. Would you? Okay. So what I thought we could do, please, you lead us.
Oh, I didn't realize I was leading.
This is interactive.
Okay, all right. And we can kind of do it in a rolling fashion. So,
The next one we're going to do is Allahu Akbar, which is God is great. So let's put passion into it. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. Go ahead. I was born in a Sikh family and baptized as a Sikh, and wanted to bring you the name of our greeting, but I'm going to do this a little differently. I'm going to do this more as what we say when we see somebody, when we meet somebody. So, Sat, S-A-T, Sat, Sri, Akal. And then my buddy over there is going to tell us what it means. Okay. So, Sat Sri Akal, Sat Sri Akal, Sat Sri Akal, Sat Sri Akal. And it means, Meji, what does Sat Sri Akal mean?
Sat means truth, but not like in red verses, like what is eternal, which exists forever. That's Satya, and that's the Creator itself. Siri is the supreme, Akal, who's beyond time and space. So the three attributes of the Creator, when you remember it and you do so,
when I was looking into Buddhism, and the other day I asked, there are a lot of Tibetans now in my neighborhood, and I asked one of the kids, I said, can you teach me the Tibetan greeting? And he says, hello. So I was like, thank you for making it so easy for me for Wednesday morning. Spirituality and wellness, to me, for me, what they mean is that I have the right and privilege to find ways, practices, and tools which support the wellness of my mind, body, heart, soul, and spirit, which bring joy into my daily living, and which I share openly, freely, and willingly with my community, which means to practice these ways without having to pay great amounts of money. So I especially appreciate today's conference being free. Thank you. Because I truly believe that all knowledge must be free, and the spreading of knowledge needs to be accessible to all peoples all over the world. I am a deeply religious person, and a deeply spiritual person, and see no contradiction in the two. I've also tried, not very successfully, to read and understand much of the Guru Granth Sahib, some of the Quran, some of the Vedas, and some of the Buddhist sutras. I felt that just the reading and examination of verses from any of these works of religious practice and the pursuit of spirituality brings much knowledge and joy into my life. So I highly encourage you to not shy away from these amazing, amazing books, holy books, the various teachings that have come to us so easily. I mean, everything now is so accessible. One of the pieces that I realized that exists in each one of the faiths is the power of the chant and the power of the mantra, or the power of someone who is highly evolved in the religion giving you a chant or a mantra or an instruction, which is what happens in Islam, for us to repeat so we can get to a place of higher understanding and wellness. For me, it was very important that my mother gave me my first mantra, Satnam Ji, Sri Vaheguru Ji, at the age of 6, when I had not spoken for about a year and a half, traumatized from what had come from the partition between India and Pakistan, and what at a very, very young age I had seen. So I had trouble sleeping, and I had trouble speaking, so my mother gave me this wonderful chant, which I have religiously practiced since that time on a daily basis. It was compounded by the fact that I was blessed by His Holiness, the Karmapa, 16th, who initiated me into Buddhism, and I took my vows. And the chant, or the mantra that he gave me, was Om Mani Padme Hum. I want to examine that just a little bit. His Holiness, the 14th Dalai Lama, says, and if you've ever heard him speak, you know that he always speaks with a little touch of smile, which means take this in, but don't take it in so seriously. You know, so I really appreciate him. He says, it is very good to recite the mantra Om Mani Padme Hum, but while you're doing it, you should be thinking on its meaning. For the meaning of the 6 syllables is great and vast. The first, Om, symbolizes the practitioner's impure body, speech, and mind. It also symbolizes the pure exalted body, speech, and mind of the Buddha. So in a way, when you're reciting this, you are making that connection with the great spirit of the Buddha. The path is indicated by the next 4 syllables. Mani, meaning jewel, symbolize the factors of method, the altruistic intention to become enlightened, compassionate, and loving. The 2 syllables of Padme, making lotus, symbolizes wisdom. Purity must be achieved by an indivisible unity of method and wisdom, symbolized by the final syllable Hum, which indicates the indivisibility. Thus, the 6 syllables Om Mani Padme Hum mean that independence on the practice of a path, which is indivisible union of method and wisdom, you can transform your impure body and mind into the pure, exalted body, speech, and mind of a Buddha. What I have realized is how difficult the spiritual journey is, especially at times when, and many of us that live with a mental illness, many of us have used drugs and alcohol in our lives, that even in those times of great suffering. And I believe that, those are elements of great human suffering, that the importance of having something so core and close to you, given to you by a loving parent, or given to you by a great teacher, that they resonate inside you, bringing about the slow awakeness of wellness again. Also looking at what else happens in our faiths and religions that speaks to wellness is that each one of them include a total way of life, how to live one's life that embraces the mind, the body, the spirit, and the soul. Have you ever noticed how physical some of our religions are? If we watch Muslims pray and really pay attention to it, they are also doing a form of yoga. Through their prostrations, through their kneeling down, through the way the body is held and the hands are held, that this is in deep appreciation to that which knows all. I will call that God or Allah. I'm comfortable with that. If we look at the Hare Krishnas, and we're blessed by their presence in this community, and watch the way they practice and chant Hare Krishna, Hare Rama, and play music, and go through our streets, and you look into their eyes, you really see that combination of prayer, music, and movement creates wellness of mind, body, and spirit. And I love the way that, some of us might think, oh, here come the Krishnas. They're going to try to give me something to read. But if you stop and just watch and listen to the beauty and the amazing sounds and the repetition itself of calling God's name, that they're always all smiling. And so I smiled back to the Hare Krishnas. In Hinduism, which is probably my most favorite religion, because of how expansive the faith is, there is place for everyone. Once we get through that, yes, there are three principal gods, Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva, but then there are 3,032 deities that speak to an individual's mind, body, soul, spirit, and inspire us to then live a life of a good Hindu. And the life of a good Hindu, living the life of a good Hindu, always keeping the wellness perspective at the center, is not that different from the life of a Muslim, or the life of a Buddhist, or the life of a Sikh, because we have all been given instructions, both religious and spiritual, by our books and by our teachers, that we can practice on a daily basis. Now, what we did this morning, I believe, came out of the Ayurveda tradition. And out of the Hindu religion, one of the things that emerged was this extensive medical methodology called Ayurveda, which is about 5,000 years old, and now available to all of us because we live in the Bay Area. So from each of these faiths come chants, comes medicine, comes the belief in prayer, comes the right use of speech, the right use of body, the right foods to eat. So in a sense, we have been fully instructed by these faiths in how to live and have your eternal flame of wellness lit at all times. Because we are living right now, folks, in a culture which moves too fast, too often, busy, 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 busy. But in that busy, there is always those tiny drops of silence that we need to look for. There is an opportunity to say to a friend, come on, let's go walk around the block. Let's go see something that will lift our spirits. Because those are the intentions for today. And I wanted to set some intentions together for today. One of the intentions that also crosses all our faiths is the intention of respect. If you study the Quran and study Islam a little deeper, it is a faith of acceptance, as are all the other faiths that say that all of us are equal. What has happened over time, however, as though those great pieces of knowledge got turned over to human hands and human minds, that things got interpreted in a way that then sometimes makes us feel that we are really separate from each other, that we cannot be in the other person's practice, or we will not be welcome in another person's faith. What I have realized is that if I come to any place that promotes spirituality, or sit at the Gurdwara on a Sunday to listen to our traditional hymns, that there is this openness and acceptance in, or go to the Zen Center, there is an acceptance in all of the places of faith. And I invite you to be brave and strong and start going to some of the ceremonies. Start experiencing what other people in this amazing multicultural community that we're living in. It's an amazing time to learn, to share, to discuss, to talk, to grow a body of tools, skills that are around wellness that comes from these deep faith beliefs. I Googled, I'm telling you, you give me an assignment and Google becomes my best friend. Now we've all heard about the benefits of yoga, but in this community, the way yoga is being taught is sometimes, I believe, a little limiting. So I wanted to give you the 3 different phases of yoga. Find my right page. The first is the way of karma yoga. This is a very popular way of salvation and lays emphasis on the idea that liberation may be obtained by fulfilling one's familial and social duties, thereby overcoming the weight of bad karma one has accrued. The second way of salvation through yoga is jnana yoga. The basic premise is that the cause of our bondage to the cycle of rebirths in this world is ignorance. According to the predominant view among those committed to this way, our ignorance consists of the mistaken belief that we are individual selves. The mistaken belief that we are individual selves. I really liked that phrase, and not one with ultimate divine reality. It is this ignorance that gives rise to our bad actions, which result in bad karma. And salvation is achieved by attaining a state of consciousness in which we realize our identity with Brahma, God, Allah, Guru Nanak, whatever name we want to call. This is achieved through deep meditation, often as part of yoga. The third one, which I have found extremely helpful, is bhakti yoga. This is the way most favored by the common people of India. It satisfies the longing for a more emotional and personal approach to religion. It involves the self-surrender to one of the many personal gods and goddesses of Hinduism. Such devotion is expressed through acts of worship, temple rituals, and pilgrimages. And this also exists in pretty much the same form in Sikhism. I know that somebody is going to talk about Islam a little bit later, but I wanted to bring one piece to you. Can somebody time me, please? 5 more minutes? Perfect. Is this helpful, folks?
Yes.
Okay, good. is the principle of Islah. And I want to apologize to those of you who know more about this than I do, but it is the practice of purification in Islam and the practice of wellness. And I'm going to read something for you folks. The prophets came to invite people to Falah. Falah is success, prosperity, and salvation. A positive, constructive message. The Prophet Muhammad also did the same. As he invited people to truth and salvation, he offered a program of complete transformation of our lives according to the divine guidance to achieve Falah in this life as well as hereafter. Islam means improvement, amelioration, betterment, mending, correction, reconstruction, reconditioning, repair, adjustment, settling, restoration to order, establishment of peace. Major part of wellness of a community or a country or a nation is the establishment of peace. And for us, who might call ourselves the warriors in the spiritual movement, if we are not on a daily basis doing the social justice work that's needed to bring peace into our communities, to bring nonviolence into our communities, to bring sweet speech into our communities, then our path is only the path of a beginner. And I urge you to blend these elements that I'm talking about and find for yourself what works the best and not stay in one path. You know, multiply, learn, teach, grow. Another piece that Islam speaks to is restitution. I believe that the process of restitution, especially to communities that have not been treated, is treated well or were disenfranchised because of our historical policies, that we need to find a way to repatriate, redress, and provide restitution. I'm going to close with a piece of music, and there's a lot more in Islam, but my time is coming to an end. I'm going to play you a piece of music from Iraq. It's from the Sufi tradition, and please feel free to stand up and dance. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity.